Let's talk about the offensive side of the football. This is a huge week for this offense. It was a huge game for this offense. This is the first game we were going to be out without Jay, obviously trading him to Philly. And he was a big part of the success that we had last year, and he was a big part of our playoff run in 2016. He really gave this team an identity. So it was going to be very interesting to see what this offense looked like without him. I really thought we were going to get back to more of a traditional Adam Gase offense, really start to get back to what he likes to do and what he's done well in the past. Did we see that on Sunday? I think we did. I thought we really got back to what Adam Gase's roots were, and we ran the offense like he has in his past. What he did in Denver, what he did in Chicago, getting the running backs one-on-one with a linebacker. That's what he did famously in Denver and Chicago. Really making favorable matchups one-on-one with your quarterback. That way he can make some easy throws, let your playmakers catch the ball, get upfield, and make plays. I thought we were really able to do that in this game. And more so than we have, especially this year, and really, we haven't really seen that since the tail end of last year. And I thought Kenyon and Damian did a tremendous job really taking advantage of situations when their number was called, because their number was called a lot, especially in the passing game. I thought Damian and Kenyon did a really good job of making plays when their number was called. I thought Kenyon did a good job when he got the opportunities running the football. If it wasn't for a turnover, he would have had a really good night. And I really liked what I saw from Kenyon. Same thing with Damian. He was tremendous in the passing game, making people miss, getting upfield. If it wasn't for a couple of stupid penalties, he would have even had a bigger night. The same thing with this offense. If it wasn't for bonehead penalties and us getting in our own way, this game could have been totally different. And that comes back to some of the negatives. The biggest negative and the most frustrating thing as a fan when you look at this game, and not try to analyze it too hard, is number one, you got to capitalize on opportunities. When we had them backed up on a 3rd and 14 at midfield, they got one heck of a kicker on the sideline. It was a huge down. If they get 5 to 6 yards, they can kick that field goal. And we really needed to play there. Now, whether we make them punt or God forbid we get a turnover, which would have been huge there, and Sue comes up with probably the best play since he's been here. It would have been if we won the game. It would have been his best play since he's been a Dolphin. I mean, that play was tremendous. He jumped, he was flying through the air, and stripped him. It was a tremendous play. Obviously, Newhouse picks it up, and then we force the fumble again, and then we eventually recover it. But that was a tremendous play by the defense. And you really have to, if you want to be a playoff team, and you want to be a consistent winner in this league, you have to make people pay for their mistakes. And we didn't do that. And, that's been a common thread if you're a Dolphins fan for a long time now. Not just since Adam Gase has been here, but in the past before. And I think we're sick and tired of seeing that. Sick and tired of seeing wasted opportunities just get wasted away. Especially how they were wasted away. When you talk about, it wasn't like on the drive right after that fumble recovery, it wasn't like we just went 3 and out and we were completely inept. We made plays that were called back, and that was the most frustrating thing of the night for me. If it wasn't for dumb penalties, we would have really been able to put ourselves in great situations, but we got in our own way, and we weren't able to capitalize on great plays by what the defense did. I mean, when you talk about that offense, the Raiders have struggled all year, but it's mostly been their defense. Now, it's not been their offense's fault. That offensive line with Kelechi Osemele, Rodney Hudson, Marshall Newhouse, Donald Penn, Gabe Jackson, that offensive line, the reason they're paid so much money is because they're really talented players. And for Sue to make that play on that down and for nothing to come out of it is absolutely ridiculous. And all the blame goes on the offense. And I think that's the biggest negative of this game for me, is we were really unable to capitalize on opportunities. And if we were able to capitalize on some of those opportunities and able to make the Raiders pay for their mistakes, it would be a completely different outcome. But we didn't. And that was the most frustrating and the thing that sucks most about this game is we were so close to moving to 5-3 and really tying the Bills in the AFC East and really taking a step in the right direction, keeping up with all the other AFC teams. But instead, we take a step back and a step in the wrong direction, and it really sucks as a fan to lose in that fashion and in that manner. And it's something we see all too often with this offense. They need to stop getting in their own way. So when you talk about some of the other things that I liked that I saw, I thought the pass protection was tremendous. I thought, I have a lot of faith, and I still do, in Juwan James and Laramie Tunsil. I like them both a lot. I think they can be really, really good for a long, long time if we keep those two together. Especially Juwan. I think Juwan's having the best year of his career. I thought the tail end of last year was the best stretch of games that he's ever had, and he's continued that success into the 2017 season, and he did nothing to change my mind. When you talk about the defensive player of the year is on the other side, and what they were able to do for most of that game until really the tail end of the fourth quarter, I don't even think they really allowed a pressure without the Raiders blitzing with Khalil Mack. Something most teams can't say. So, Laramie had some stupid plays at the tail end of that game. I think Khalil Mack beat him on one of the last drives of the game, but for the most part, he played pretty well. I thought Juwan had a tremendous game. So I thought the tackles, one of the things I really liked in this game, the tackles really played at a high level. But the guards continue. There were some plays where Jermon really just had to do. He had to hold Khalil Mack on that fourth down. It was. If that penalty was called without all the other stuff that happened beforehand, I think Dolphins fans would feel a little less robbed at that moment. But since there were so many other calls in that game, I felt like that call really hurt fans because of that. And that play was hard to take, but that was a legitimate hold. Khalil Mack, I don't know if he was on Tunsil's side or Sam Young's side. They kept switching him when Juwan got hurt. I don't know what side he was on. I can't remember. But he beats his man, and if Jermon didn't come over and hold him there, then Khalil Mack is going to have a free run to the quarterback, and it probably would have been a strip sack. So it was a good play by Jermon, vet move. It's unfortunate that protection broke down that quick. If Juwan was in there, maybe something differently would have happened. But I thought the guards played well in the passing game. Through the running game, they left some things to be desired. Obviously, they were heavily penalized in this game, and that's something you not want to see. So guard is still an issue for this team. If it's not one thing, it's the other, meaning if it's not Jesse, then it's Jermon. Hopefully Ted Larson can come in and really solidify this offensive line, because I think Jermon is a serviceable guard in this league. So if we can put somebody next to him that's serviceable, then I think this offensive line is going to be much, much better. But the guards were heavily penalized in this game, and that really hurt us in this game. But again, when you talk about some of the biggest negatives of this game, the Dolphins got in their own way again. Bonehead penalties on offense, which has been riddled with the team all year. The guard play was subpar at best. More negative that I'll throw in there that I really wish we would have done some. I love the play calling. The entire night. I thought the game plan was perfect. I love the play calling. And I think why we didn't see some of this stuff was because we didn't get a ton of snaps in that second half due to penalties. There was a lot of 3 and outs because we were getting 3rd and 20s. But I wish we were more aggressive. I wish we took more shots to Devontae Parker. I wish we took more shots to Kenny Stills. I wish we took more shots to Julius Thomas. I wish we took more shots to Devontae Parker. Quick passing game was working so well because they were winning their one-on-one matchups, which is not something that this passing game has done on a consistent basis. But the passing game was so successful because nobody could guard Jarvis. Nobody could guard Devontae. The only drop Devontae had all night should have been called pass interference, but it wasn't. Nobody could guard Kenny. Kenny, when his number was called and when he had his opportunities, he made plays. So I wish Adam would have taken more shots earlier on, especially since we had the ball at midfield. That's when you really can take some shots. It's the sweet spot. Unfortunately, we didn't do some of those things, and I think a lot of that had to do with we didn't get a ton of snaps in the second half. But some of the positives. One, I think the pass protection is going to be better for the rest of the year. If Juwan stays healthy, I don't know the severity. I think it was a hamstring. I don't know. I'm assuming he was questionable return at the time. I'm assuming he'll be healthy for the Carolina game. So I love the way the pass protection looked, and it makes me confident for the rest of the year. I loved the way the passing game looked. I thought Kenyon and Damian did a tremendous job of winning their one-on-one matchups and really getting back to the old-school Adam Gase offense. There was a pick plays. We were taking advantage of matchups that we liked, which is something that we haven't seen all year, and I loved it. And then, the third thing that I really like to see, I thought Jay Cutler was really efficient in this game. And I really liked what I saw from Damian and Kenyon. So all of those things were positives. Again, some of the negatives continue to show up for this team, and guards continues to be an issue for us. Hopefully Ted Larson can come in and just be serviceable. We don't need him to be good. We don't need him to be great. We just need him to be a serviceable player at that position. And it will, since he's a veteran, I would hope some of these penalties won't be called. Because obviously we have a lot of young players we have a young player in there at guard right now, and hopefully when Ted comes in, some of those things are cleaned up, because that really hurt us in this game. So overall, some of the same old things that we saw with the offense, it's unfortunate, but there was a lot of things that I liked. All right, let's talk about the defensive side of the football. My biggest emphasis before going into this game is we know two things about the Raiders. They have a quarterback in Derek Carr that is one of the most prolific deep ball throwers in the game. We know that. We know they have an O-line that is capable of protecting, so they do take a ton of shots downfield due to the fact that their offensive line is such a strong unit at times. So we knew those two things. We know the Raiders like to take shots downfield. We know they have the O-line to do it. And we know that the last couple of games, and really all season long, we've given up big plays in the secondary. Big play touchdowns we've given up all season long. And even in wins we've done it. And in this game was no different. We did not do a good job of taking one of the strengths away from the Raiders, and that's something that they're tremendous at, and that's one of our weaknesses. And the Raiders really took advantage of it all night. It doesn't have to be a touchdown to be a big play. It felt like there wasn't enough long drives in this game. We really didn't make them run the football because there were so many big plays in the passing game. When you talk about the deep play to Seth Roberts, when you talk about the deep play early on to Jared Cook, there was a couple actually on third down, but those weren't big plays. I'm talking about big deep throws. There's one to Amari Cooper, which was a weird formation, to him, running a little wheel route out of the backfield. There was way too many big plays in the secondary in this game, and that's something that we knew we had to do a better job of. Listen, the Raiders do this to everybody. It's not just us. They did it in 2016 on a regular basis. They haven't seen a ton of it this year, and that's that reflects on their record. But there have been times this year where they've done it to everybody. I mean, they did it to the Chiefs all day on their secondary. So that's something we knew that we had to do a better job of, and in this game we didn't do that. My hope is some of the big plays in that game were scheme busts, execution wasn't right. Rashad was supposed to rotate. Obviously they caught us in it. That you could blame it on a play calling issue. You could blame that on Rashad for not getting rotating fast enough. That's depending on how you look on the play. Regardless, it was a busted play on defense. And I hope some of those things are going to be fixed. I think we can really, I hope some of those things are fixed because we can keep Rashad on the line of scrimmage more with TJ. And I thought we did a good job of that when Nate Allen was in. I felt like Nate Allen was consistently the free safety, and we really never had to rotate Rashad back there. I felt like we rotated Michael and Rashad too much. Obviously, we had to be mindful of the fact that Michael needs to, he's a valuable asset on special teams, so we sat him on third down, which was really weird. But again, hopefully when TJ comes back, the other safety spot is more solidified, and we have a full-time safety at that position instead of these wonky game plans to really help out Rashad. So hopefully that is fixed by the time we play Carolina. I think some of those things will help the big play issues. Is really finding a really good safety next to Rashad, who Rashad can count on, and I think Matt's going to be way more comfortable with, and really trust a lot with him. And I think his trust is a huge reason for some of these busted plays on defense. But overall, other than the big play, our defense, they weren't great in rushing the passer, which is a first all year. Again, that's the matchup issue. Their offensive line is really good, so that's the reason why. So the pass rushing wasn't there. It wasn't a presence all night due to the fact that the Raiders have a good offensive line, and that led to the fact that we couldn't get any turnovers. The one turnover we did have was a strip sack. We didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. That didn't force any turnovers. There was a couple plays here and there where we could have made a play on the football. It was bad execution. A player didn't keep his head up. it was just a missed opportunity, and that's unfortunate. We did end up having, I think we had 2 turnovers. One was a late pick by Rashad that Derek Carr basically just threw it up for grabs, and Rashad came down with it. That's something that I was hoping to see throughout the game. That's something they got a ton of one-on-one matchups. The Raiders did on the second level of our defense, and they were able to take advantage of those matchups. But again, hopefully we can clean some of those things up with TJ. But some of the negatives on defense, not enough pass rush productivity. The deep ball was open all night. And third is not enough turnovers. But I thought the defense has been playing tremendous football all year. This was probably their worst game in my opinion. It's up there. It's definitely up there with one of their worst games all year, and that's saying something because I love this defense. I think it's great. It's tremendous. It's a playoff caliber defense, and it's been called a Super Bowl caliber defense for God's sakes from other people. So I like it a lot. But again, some of those things will be cleaned up, hopefully, with the return of TJ McDonald. And again, you can't just be like, well, Michael's a good safety, but what we were doing with him is a little odd. So it is what it is. Hopefully when TJ comes back, some of that is fixed. The Dolphins loved what they saw from him in practice and in the preseason. That's why he got that contract extension. So hopefully we see some of that on game day. So aside from the defensive big plays let up, and again, something I forgot to mention is the inability to guard a tight end. And I thought guarding tight ends this year it's been a huge improvement to years past. It's still not where it needs to be though, and we saw a lot of that on Sunday night. And the Raiders knew that coming into this game, and they took advantage of it. But anyway, some of the things that I'm looking for, I think the defense is still the defense. I think it still can win games for us. I think the offense is finally finding an identity, and that's the best thing I can say from taking something away from a loss, is you can still find your identity even in a loss. And I think we have found how this offense is going to work for the rest of the season, because beforehand we were really going game to game not knowing what we want to do. And I think after this game we really know what we want to do, and I think that's going to result in a more consistent offense, which is really nice. And why I say that is I think Adam's going to go back to his roots, not make any compromises. So he's going to call what he thinks is the best play at the time. He's not going to make compromises for certain people on the field and certain personnel. So I think that's really going to help us for the rest of the season. So even though this loss was a big loss to our season, we're still 4-4. I think we finally found an identity on offense, and the defense is still really, really good. And our defense is getting reinforcements this upcoming game against the Carolina Panthers with TJ McDonald, who the Dolphins hold in really high respect and think is a franchise safety. He's played like that. He played like that in St. Louis and in LA for many years. He was one of the best safeties. He's one of the biggest tone setters. He was a great run stuffer all of his years there, and he was a great tone setter. So there's a lot of things to be excited about if you're a Dolphins fan. No, I know that you guys accuse me of being overly optimistic at times, but seriously, I don't think if you watch this game you can deny that offense looked really, really good. If it wasn't for bad penalties. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I think there's a lot of things that you can take away from this game, negative and positive. Let me know what you guys think those things are. I am Skagster1083, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.